Jets, I hear them say it now.
Jets, white, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win tonight. White, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win.
What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back for another video. We have the Week 5 preview of the New York Jets and Denver Broncos coming right at you. But before we get into that, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And if this is your first time tuning in, God bless you, but I've been waiting for a long time to do this, to do the Garrett Wilson troll. I got the whole outfit going on after Sean Payton made things personal, basically talking shit about Hackett and the Jets back in July. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers isn't here to throw for 700 yards, but this is a personal game that the Jets should make it personal, and they should be talking about this all week, which I think they probably are, but you know, Salah, closed doors. But yes, this is a personal game. But you could also follow me on Instagram and X at Turn Up the Jets, all one word. Please follow me on those social media platforms. All the support, much appreciated. But yes, the Week 5 preview of the New York Jets, who are 1-3, traveling to Mile High to take on the 1-3 Denver Broncos. That will be a 4 Eastern time game, so we'll have the 1 o'clock window to kind of enjoy ourselves. The Jets are in a must-win situation. I'm not going to do this whole show like this. I just had to open up. You know, I can't do it with the hat. It just sounds weird on my headphones, but yeah, it was cool. It lasted 1 minute and 55 seconds. It was a lot of fun. Would I do it again? Yes. If the Jets win, will I do it again? Hell yeah. But this is a must-win game for the Jets. I mean, it's clear. Like 1-4 and 2-3 are so much different. You know, for a season. Yes, it's still super early in. You know, we're only a quarter into the season. And I'm not worried about the 1-3 start. Listen, if we're just looking overreacting 1 week, we're feeling good right now. No moral victories. I said it 85 times in my last video recapping the Chiefs game, but like if this could be the norm, holy shit, the Jets might have something cooking here. And we'll have to see. And it all starts this week. And listen, and I'm going to start right off with the Denver Broncos defense stinks. They allow 37.5 points a game. Yes, that was certainly inflated by the Miami Dolphins scoring 70, but the Miami Dolphins scored 70. I mean, what are we doing? 150 points in 4 games. So that is a lot. 20 touchdowns. So they're giving up 5 touchdowns a game. I mean, this is not a good defense at all. Let's look more into their defense. Passing yards, 1,142 passing yards. That is an average of 285 passing yards a game. They also average, they give up 176 on the ground. That's 704 total this year so far. Yeah, not good. And I think that's really all I had to make clear, that this Broncos team, well, this Broncos defense sucks. And this is a real shot that Zach Wilson could really build off of what he did last weekend, which was phenomenal, by the way, on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs. So that's a huge aspect of this game. Well, going into this game is, can Zach Wilson repeat it? I think he can, and I think he will. I think Zach Wilson's going to have a phenomenal game. I don't think he's going to throw for 300 yards, but I think he's going to be very similar to last game, like maybe over 200 yards, 200 to 240, a couple touchdowns, and hopefully he can lead leave the turnovers at 0 this time. No fumbles, no interceptions. That would be a great game. I'm not saying he's going to have this unbelievable game, but I do think he's going to build off what he showed us, which was certainly impressive last weekend against the Chiefs. But if we really dive into this team, the Broncos are 1-3. They're coming off a crazy 21-point comeback against the Chicago Bears. And this is also a team that blew a 21-point lead themselves as well. I think it was back in week 2. They fell to the Commanders, just blew a huge lead, lost in overtime. I believe the score was 35-33. So they've been in mostly every game besides the Dolphins game. Like they lost to the Raiders 17-16. I had mentioned that Commanders game, they blew the lead. They got absolutely blown out, we all know, against Miami, and then they beat the Bears. So this is not a garbage Denver team. Their defense is just garbage. Like, their offense has actually performed pretty well. 25 points a game, which is like night and day from last season. Wilson is averaging 237 yards in the air a game, and the rushing offense, kind of the tandem of Samaje Perine, Javonte Williams, those guys are averaging just under 195.5 a game. But the thing is, like, Russell Wilson has played well, but I don't necessarily think his stats show that. I think he's playing better than he is. You look at it, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks. That's very good. As I mentioned, over that, around that 230 to 250 mark. I think it says 253, but the team stats 237 because I think it's just like they count when they get sacked and shit. So 253 as his personal passing statistic, yards per game. But he's been sacked 11 times. Like, he's still getting sacked, and I think if the Jets could put pressure on him, they could force him to make mistakes. I'm not treating Russell Wilson like this terrible quarterback. I'm not treating this game like it's an easy win. No, this is a must win, and I think it's going to be a tough game because you're in Mile High. It's a tough place to play in. You take in consideration of the fans, but like the breathing aspect, the air, like that's a real thing. I went to Colorado. I was not playing 4 quarters of football. I was literally walking to bars, and I was out of breath. So I can't imagine these guys who were playing for 60 minutes, well, not legitimately 60 minutes, but essentially a 60-minute football game with this air. So there's a lot of ties into this that Mile High is essentially and historically a tough place to play in. So this is going to be a tough game for the Jets. Yes, the Broncos offense is improved. And no, I do not think Russell Wilson is back. I don't think this is Seahawk Wilson. I think Sean Payton is what I've seen. I've watched quite a bit about the Broncos this week. And I don't usually watch a lot of film of the other team. I probably should because I'm going on here on a microphone talking about teams. But this is an offense that is afraid to let Russell Wilson just, spread his wings. And it's kind of similar to what it was with Zach Wilson. I think this is a super conservative approach from Sean Payton. I think he's more scared of just having Russell Wilson make mistakes. We thought that he was going to do this his way, Sean Payton's way. No, this is like super conservative. It's almost like you have like a backup quarterback playing. That's how the offense is heavily reliant on the run game, and I think it will be this weekend. And I think they'll have to run well in order to beat this Jets team because his defense is really good. And I don't think Russell Wilson necessarily is going to throw for 300 yards. And I don't think they'll even allow him to do that. Like, he has been able to hold his own, especially in the shootouts with the Commanders game, and as well as last game against the Bears, which was a 31-28 victory for the Broncos. Like, they're going to have to at least try to get Russell Wilson out of his comfort zone. So I'm not really looking too far into the stats that Russell Wilson is having this terrific year. Yes, when you put him to different quarterbacks, yeah, sure. But when I physically watched him, is it better than Russell Wilson last year? Of course. Almost every quarterback is better than Russell Wilson last year, besides last year's Zach Wilson and maybe a few others. But is he better? Yes, for sure. But I still don't think like Sean Payton is living up to his word of saying that like this is his way. He's doing it his way. So we'll see. This is probably the most I've ever talked about an opponent. It's very interesting. With the Broncos, I feel like I had to do better. I feel like sometimes in my videos, it's just Jets. I want to break down the opponent. I want to give my opinion on the opponent. I do not think this is going to be an easy game, as I have mentioned. And I want to get the key matchups. We're going to stick with the Wilsons, and that's my matchup. It's Wilson versus Wilson. Of course, they're not going, facing each other, but the offenses are going up against each other. You know what I mean? Like, when I talk about these matchups, it's not like a corner has to go against like a receiver now. It's just two guys who I'm really looking into, and it's definitely the Wilsons. Like, this is going to be a tough game for both of these quarterbacks. Zach definitely has the advantage, in my opinion, because he has the defense. Russell does not. Like, the differences between the defenses should decide this game and should go in the Jets' favor. Like, simply enough, unless the Jets just play awful on defense. And Sean Payton is a great play caller, and he is a great offensive mind, even though I was just kind of trashing him and like being conservative. But, he has the resume, even though he has Drew Brees, but he has the resume to really dial something up, dial a really good offensive game plan, and hurt a defense. So, like, I'm not like not ruling that out. The Jets defense could play poorly, and they've shown flashes of playing poorly, but I think that's still an advantage for Zach Wilson. I'm going to talk about Zach Wilson first. I already talked about last game. I'm throwing that I'm throwing that out the window, right? We talked enough about last game. I've seen so many highlights. I'm tired of it. I want to see this week. I am so excited to see how this offense operates. But the thing is, for me, Zach Wilson was able to use his legs, and I think that's going to be a huge key. This is a bad defense, but Zach Wilson, when he uses his legs, when he rolls out of the pocket, whether it's the right side or the left side, it gives him more time to go through his progressions. We all know the Zach Wilson for the last 3 years coming into this game, or a little under 3 years coming into this game, his progressions, going through his progressions is not his strength at all. Like, it's extremely slow. He takes forever. That's why he takes so many sacks, or has taken so many sacks throughout his career. That's why he just throws the ball at it like to nobody at times and makes boneheaded mistakes. It's because he has had and been kind of notorious of not being a guy who can go through his reads quick. The game has been very quick. But the thing is, if he is able to use his legs, it's going to give him more time. Just play to his strengths, and that's what he has to do. He did that. He has to do that again, and I think it's very possible. Get the ball out of your hand quickly. Yes, the progressions, you got to go through it, but almost have in your mind, and I think Zach Wilson did this too, and I've seen some people kind of knocking Zach Wilson to that. He only went through one progression. He only locked in on one receiver, and he threw it right away. Like, and that's necessarily not true. Do I think he had a plan of who he was going to target first? For sure. But I think he was going through, this is my guy, and if he's not open, I either have a second option or I'm checking down to the running back. And this is what Zach Wilson has to keep going and building off of. So I think this is the perfect defense for him to do it against. And I don't even care if he does well. We can't say, oh, this defense sucks. No, because it's just going to build his confidence. You think Zach Wilson, if he comes off in a good game, cares if this defense sucks? No, he cares if his team wins and he performed well and he didn't cause them to lose. That's all he cares about, and that's what he needs to do. This is such a good matchup for Zach, and just to prove and let him kind of spread his wings even more, right? Like, keep spreading your wings, keep getting comfortable, and keep gaining that self-confidence. You could see Zach Wilson is confident. All week he's been talking to the media, super confident, and I think it has to really transform into the field. So it's really huge for Zach Wilson. For Russell Wilson, I kind of explained it already. This is a good Jets defensive front. The Jets are going to really cause pressure. They should. I want to see more sacks out of the Jets defensive line. They haven't had as much sacks as I thought going into the season that they would. Are they applying pressure? Of course. But I think for Russell Wilson, he needs to kind of do the same thing, go through his reads quickly. And it's so specific what Russell Wilson does, though. Like, there was a point, I think, was it the Miami game? It might have been like the Miami game. Like, he was already set on one guy, and he had like Cortland Sutton, I think it was, wide open in the end zone, and he refused to throw to him. He just didn't throw to him because he's almost going through the same thing, because I really think it has to do with what the offensive play calling is and what Payton's saying in his ear, because I think it's ran super conservatively, even though he is putting up good numbers. But when you look at things like that, like that's showing me that Russell Wilson isn't playing free. So the Jets have to take advantage of that. Let Russell Wilson be uncomfortable. And for Wilson, he's going to have to hope that his running game has a good game. Like, Pacheco ran all over the Jets defense last week. And whether he didn't do much after that first quarter, he still had over 120 yards. He still was the best player on the field for the Chiefs on the offensive side last week. And the Broncos are going to have to look at that and say, this is our advantage against this Jets defense. Let's build off of some solid games ourselves on the ground and do it against the Jets defense, who has struggled kind of at least the last game or two against the run. So Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine, they got quite a few backs. They also got that rookie Jaleel McLaughlin. I think he is almost the guy who's been taking over that Broncos backfield. Even though I think Javonte is extremely talented, but they're going to try to run the football. And like it's going to be run first, pass second. And for the Jets, I think it's going to be pass first. I really do. So that's kind of my matchup. It's Wilson versus Wilson. What quarterback is going to make that mistake to change the game? I'll tell you, it's going to be Wilson. Key to victory. This is interesting, and I use this as a key to victory week 2. I'm kind of going to specify this is not my exact key to victory, but it's Breece Hall. Again, plain and simple. Breece Hall is finally off of his pitch count. It was announced earlier this week by Coach Robert Saleh that he no longer has a pitch count. And we waited 4 long weeks. Breece Hall is still averaging over 6 yards a carry, and now he's going to be able to play freely. We're going to see a whole lot less of Dalvin Cook. I think a lot of people will be happy about that. And I think a whole lot less than Michael Carter. He has been playing on third downs, but it's time for Breece Hall to play first, second, and third down. That's what it's time for. I'm not saying that Breece Hall needs to run for 200 yards a game. He just needs to be in the game. He really does. And the security blanket for Zach Wilson and what they were able to do last week. And I said they were like, I'm not talking about Zach Wilson's performance. I'm just saying on an offensive scheme, the play action fake. If you put Breece Hall 3 downs or even 2 out of the 3, or even just way more than he's been playing, you're going to be able to have that as your advantage. You're going to have a play action. You either pass it or you give it to Breece. Or, Breece is still effective in the passing game as well. So there's a lot of options that you could do with him. Heck, you could even put him and Dalvin in this, at the field at the same on the field at the same time, even though Dalvin has not performed well, but it's tough. He's getting 6 carries a game. I don't know what people expect. Like, yeah, he gets 6 carries a game. How do you expect Dalvin Cook to be this fantastic running back? They paid him, yes, but he's the backup running back. They paid handsomely for a backup running back, and who gives a shit? Like, where else were they going to spend the $8 million? Seriously, like Aaron Rodgers just took a $35 million pay cut for that reason. So I'm not on the train of, Dalvin Cook sucks. But I am on the train of let's see less of him and way more of Breece, because this is time. This is Breece's time. This is the revenge game. His documentary came out on Thursday. This is against the Denver Broncos, for friggin' Pete's sake or Christ's sake. I don't want to, sorry, religious people, but like this is a huge revenge game for him. And again, I don't need him to do this insane stat line, put in this insane stat line. All I need him to do is be on the field and be present. And that's going to be on Nathaniel Hackett. I'm very sure there's no coincidence that the Jets are like, oh yeah, the leash is off. He's going to be a huge asset to this game plan. He should. And I think he could be the reason they win this game. Just his presence alone. Big Breece guy. And I'm very excited to see him. 100%, especially seeing that documentary, by the way, the One Jets Drive films, fantastic. It was great. It was like an hour and 20. It was like basically a movie, and it was insanely well done. Put a lot of work to it. You could see it. So definitely recommend checking that out. I watched it yesterday, and that's why I'm all breezed out today. Prediction. I got the Jets. Winning this game 27-24. I really think this is going to be a lot closer than maybe some Jets fans think. The Jets are underdogs. Like they're a 2.5 point underdog. They're a plus 115 money line if you take them straight up to win. Like I think the retrospect of people outside of Jets country, thinks this is going to be a close game, and I think it will be. I think this will be a game coming down the wire. I really do. I don't see the Jets necessarily blowing them out. I don't see the Broncos blowing them out either. This is I'll say for the 8th time, this is a very good matchup for the Jets in a must-win game. And it doesn't mean that they have to go in and not do anything. No, they got to act like the Broncos or the Chiefs. Really, you can't look at the record. This is still a good team. They still got some playmakers on the offensive side, despite the defense of struggles. They really have to take this game seriously, because 1-4 sucks. And 1-4 makes it it makes it a uphill battle for sure. You go 2-3, and you're looking who you're playing, and the gauntlet is over after next week against Philly. And then you play the Giants, who have stunk, the Chargers, who have a coach just doesn't know how to punt the football. Las Vegas has had their struggles. Like they're coming up at a certain point in their schedule where it gets easier. It gets a whole lot easier. So this is a huge game for the Jets. It's make or break it for both of these teams, though. Like the Broncos want to be in it too. The Broncos just won last week. They have all of that momentum. They have the momentum coming into this game. The Jets lost last week. The Broncos didn't. The Broncos were losing 28-7 on the road, came back 131-28. Say what you want to the Bears, by the way, who smoked the Commanders on Thursday 40-20. They were up 28-7. They were an NFL team at home with a lead, and they blew it, and the Broncos came back. They have so much momentum. So 27-24. And yes, I do think Zach Wilson plays well again. Hopefully Breece Hall is a big emphasis on this offensive game plan, and get Garrett Wilson the ball at least 10 times again. You know, I loved how he had double-digit targets. Give it to him again. I want at least 10 to 12 or maybe more targets for Garrett Wilson. But that's going to wrap it up here for the preview of the New York Jets and the Denver Broncos. Again, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Like the video if you actually liked it. Follow me on Instagram and X on both of those social media platforms. That's Turn Up the Jets, all one word. Joe Skirto here, as always, a.k.a. Turn Up the Jets. I don't think I even said my name in the beginning. Who gives a shit? You can see my name and Joe, Turn Up the Jets. That is me. But let's go. Let's go, Jets. Screw Sean Payton. And we'll see you on Monday. We'll see you on Monday for the recap. Let's get to 2-3. See ya.
Jets, I hear them say it now. Jet, white, green, just green and